this will be on the replay in the group for you folks. If you are watching in the replay, please hashtag replay so we know that you were watching. Stick to the very end because we do have something lined up really special for you guys, as I mentioned on my post. All right. So today we have David Angel here, a UK-based sales expert with over 20 years of sales experience and coaching different marketers, right? Affiliate network marketers, different coaches, and anywhere from like low ticket to high ticket items, anywhere from that, generating over, I thought it was over 7 figures before, but clearly I was mistaken. It was over 8 figures.
Yeah, over 15 million in total over the last sort of 10, 12 years of that. If I added it up over the whole 20 years, it'd be a lot higher. But I don't class the early years just because they're scattered.
Yeah. So today's interview really just introducing you guys to this whole sales process, because as we know, as an entrepreneur, we have this process of lead generation, then connecting with people, and really connecting, diagnosing problems, and offering our solutions. Right. Closing, which is part of the sales, is the very end process where a lot of marketers or entrepreneurs get stuck in. I know I've got stuck in that several times in the past, where it's hard to close. I wanted to close, but it's like, I didn't know what to do if a certain response came about. So this is where David comes in, where he's gonna show us how it's done right. But before we do that, hey David, could you tell us a little bit backstory, how you got here, where you are now, and how just basically how you got to this point.
Okay, good. Well, hi guys, nice to meet everyone that's on here. So as I said, my name's David Angel and I host the Sales Network. Now, this is an online sales coaching and interactive training platform that takes everything I've learned over the space of 20 years in sales and puts it into easy managed interactive videos to help people learn from. The reason it's come about is quite simple. I was training in different businesses, and if I was in a large company of, say, 30 salespeople, each one of these salespeople has got a different skill set, different ability, different needs, different tasks. So if I'm doing a meeting, and most salespeople will be able to sort of recall this in their own job, you can be in a sales meeting where there's only one subject that's being studied. So if you're not specifically needing that help, you're sat there twiddling, or you're on your phone or wasting your time thinking you could be doing other things. Now, then came the solution of, we'll put it all online so people can actually learn. And I can do generic training for most people, which will help everyone. But then you can specifically hone in on the skills that you need. So I took all of this content, recorded it all. I think there's 400 videos, 20 odd hours worth of content. And this goes everything from the moment you first speak to somebody to the point of when you're upselling them after they're a client, and everything in between. Now, the reason that so many people that I help find benefit in what I help is because it's not a narrow market I've been in. I haven't just had one area, one job, or one business. I've done everything from my early years of being terrible in my first sales job. I was awful at it, and I could never understand why. And this was doing door to door. Going out, and I was doing the numbers, I was working hard, and I just wasn't getting it. At the time, I think the average guy was getting, or girl was getting, 4 to 5 deals a day. And I was coming out with 2s. And I couldn't work out why. And after about 3 or 4 weeks, getting frustrated, getting down about it, which is normal when you're not performing, I asked their top guy, and I said, can I come and shadow you for the day? And literally all he did was talk to me in a different way. He showed me things and made me think about things in a different light. Now, the thing I think is most interesting with sales, when we think about anything in life, not just in sales, say 70%, I reckon, of what we know, what we believe, whether it's your religious beliefs, your political beliefs, how to drive a car, how to eat your dinner, what you should eat, what you shouldn't eat, is all based on either our surroundings, our family, or experiences. And it's the same with sales. So when we approach a sale, like you said earlier, Derek, about the close, if you've got nerves about the close, as soon as you get to that point, paralysis kicks in, nerves kicks in of everything that's happened in the past and controls what happens in that moment. And so for so many people, they've got those sections. And I had it with doing door-to-door and sales. And it was watching this other guy seamlessly going through motions that I would have been paralyzed with, or would have internally overthought and just not even bothered doing them. So watching him do it enabled me to have the confidence to do it, because it wasn't like, oh, shall I try this? It was like, that guy's just done it. I've sat with him, watching him, saying stuff that I wouldn't have said, not because he was rude, but he just said it in a different way. Now, we've got to all think about when we're doing things like sales. Imagine if you've been out on a date, how quickly it can go either really, really well or really, really badly. And sometimes it's one thing that you did, one thing you said, a look that you made, something you didn't say, not complimented in the right way, saying something and sounding sarcastic. Now, if we know that happens in our normal life, why do we always hold this big thing that it's not going to matter in a sale? So I studied all of this stuff. So fast forward 20 years of being a great student, moving through from door to door to business to consumer, phone sales, face-to-face, hosting meetings, building teams, having businesses, the whole way through. I've seen it from start to finish in so many scenarios now, but I can take the learning curve out of what people have to learn. And now I have a sales network.
That's great. And, you know, with a lot of people there beginning this marketing and sales process, it is hard to know what to say and what not to say. So what are some of the common things that your students, or, you know, some people you've worked with, where they mistakenly say, you know, what's the wrong?
Some of the big things that a lot of people talk too much. Okay. Now, when we're having a conversation here, I'm talking because I'm explaining something. So I want to take when you're presenting something, that's something where you're doing a lot of talking, because you're then talking to them about things. So when you're presenting, you're doing a lot more talking. But there's a big stage before that when you're qualifying someone. And this is where you need to make sure that, one, you are asking the right questions. Now, there's good questions, and there's great questions, and there's amazing questions. You can ask a good question, but it doesn't mean you're going to get a good answer. You need to make sure that the structure, in the order in which you ask questions, the way you ask those questions, will get you the results that you want. Because it's very easy to force people into, or trick people into giving the answer that you want. But what you want to do in sales is ask questions where you give people an opportunity to get out of it. No one wants to feel trapped. And a lot of people in sales think that steamrolling into people as hard as they can, as fast as they can, tricking them into saying yes is going to matter. Now, all that happens with those people is they pitch a huge amount of people, they have very long conversations, but they don't have a conversion because they've managed to keep them on the phone. But actually, if you know the right things to ask and when to ask them and how to ask them, it will make you more effective, but it will also give the prospect the ability to feel like they're in control. So first point is always asking the right questions. But right away before that is people need to have an understanding of what they're actually there to do. Sales is about fixing a problem. Now, before that stage is realizing what you're doing, whether it's sales or marketing. And with marketing, a skill you need is selling. With sales, you don't always need to be in marketing. In a sales job, you might get handed leads. The company's already set up, so you're not marketing. You could just be selling. But as a marketer, you also need the ability to sell. You need to know the inner workings. It's not just about the copy or the ad or anything like that. And what we need to do is know, what are we doing right now? Are we marketing right now? So are we trying to attract people into talking to us? Or are we in a sales environment? Now, you should always be looking for sales opportunities, but you need to know at what stage are you doing, because depending on where you are at the point, depends on what you're trying to get out of it, depends on the questions that you should be asking. Because if we're at the stage where we're marketing and we're fact finding, we might be a bit more general because we're trying to qualify or identify solutions that could be there. If you're in a sales presentation, then actually all of that should already be done. And if that's already done, you will have more confidence because you'll already know, well, actually, Derek is a guy in his X age. He lives in this environment. He's looking for this solution. This is his problem. This is his budget. You should have all of this before you even get to the sale. Too many people jump into the sale too quickly. They're so eager to get a deal, they'll steamroll past the recruitment, prospecting, marketing side and jump straight into the sale. And then they get hit with a big objection. They get hit by a big hurdle. They get hit by a big decision-making problem. Or they find out the person's not even a decision maker.
Right. That's
just
true.
because they got a quick buying signal. A buying signal is not always the reason to jump straight into it. In the same way, if you're dating, just because someone gives you a bit of interest doesn't mean you should pick them up, put them over your shoulder, and take them to the nearest restaurant.
Yeah, great example.
Yeah. So
That's
I
true.
think that there are a couple of the main points which I think a lot of people need to focus on. Having structure in sales is such a vital thing to do. If you know your day, this is where I say, knowing your job and what you're trying to do is one thing. Knowing how you're going to do it is another. And then knowing the steps to get there is vital. A lot of people don't have a day where it's planned out effectively. They're doing whatever happens whenever it happens. Because, and let's be frank, if you're working in a small business and it's yours and you're an entrepreneur, you are wearing many hats. I'm not saying don't reply to someone about a deal at 4 p.m. because that's your prospecting time. But often, if you're not getting the results you need to have right hat on. You can't change a hat every 2 minutes because you lose your flow. You lose your momentum. You lose what you're actually doing. True. I think a lot of people will be surprised just by being more organized, how much more business they will get. How many people out there don't follow up in the right way because they rushed it? How many people didn't have enough time allocated? If you've got an hour-long sales call that you've organized and you've booked a call for 3 minutes after that, that's daft. Because what happens if you're right at the end of this presentation and actually that person needs 15 minutes more time of yours? What are you going to do? Sacrifice this call to get on the other, but the other person could be important. Well, actually, what you should be doing is having an hour-long presentation booked out, a half an hour gap, and then another one. Worst case scenario, you've got a full half an hour to recover from all the effort you put into it and be prepared. Right. So little things like that. Sometimes doing less can be a hell of a lot more.
That's absolutely agree. Doing less is more. So that's I've been in that struggle before, and I noticed that when I get more organized, it's much more clear. You got to simplify a lot of things, right? Who here kind of realized that as well, right? Who've experienced that before? When you just have like 3 simple steps or 5 simple steps, it's just so much easier than like 10 complex steps.
I think with a lot of people out there as well, and we'll relate to this, but sometimes the little steps that we've got to take every day are easy to miss out on. So if that's messaging 20 people in your Instagram followings every day, following up with X amount of people, having a list of this, that, and the other. A lot of the little things are very easy to not do. But over a year, those habits are the things that make you a success. Because those little habits generate a lead here and a lead there. They show the prospect that you give a crap, but you do give a monkeys about helping them, that you are the guy to trust. And I think sometimes we're so busy being active, we lose out on a lot of the productivity that we can actually have that demands and delivers the results.
That's true. A lot of times we overestimate what we can. Was it underestimate?
Yeah. What was this? Underestimate what we can do in a year and overestimate what we can do in a day.
Right, and that applies to a lot of things. It's so applicable. And you're so right about nurturing people. In the marketing side of things, where you really got to nurture them all the way to the sales process to figure out if they are the right client or not.
I think as well, asking uncomfortable questions a lot of the time, not only are they vital for success, but when you ask an uncomfortable question, what a lot of people forget, and I've been guilty of this in the past. If you ask say I'm talking to you now and you're looking about joining my coaching program, and if I feel I need to ask you, listen, give me an idea. Out of 10, how interested are you in getting started today? 1 being I'm not at all, and 10, literally, I'll chop my arm off. Where are you? Now, if I feel uncomfortable asking that question, you already know how interested you are out of 10. The only person who doesn't know is me. So it's not an uncomfortable question to ask you because you already know, right? So a lot of the time, these uncomfortable questions, we think it's uncomfortable for the prospect, for the buyer. It's not. It's uncomfortable for us because we're not prepared. We're not sold on what we're doing. We don't believe in the actions that we're taking. If we were 100% sold on the product and the service and our ability to deliver and the sales skills and preparation we've done behind it, we wouldn't have anywhere near the nerves that we've got. But because we're not fully prepared and fully committed and fully dedicated, and because we don't sell fully on every call, we drop a little percent here and a little percent of effort there. We're used to selling at 50% effort.
Mm-hmm.
Go on.
No, it kind of goes back to the old beliefs you're talking about, right? Whatever we've had, our old beliefs really brings out to how we present ourselves now.
100%.
Yeah.
And then, it's such a difference for people. I think with so many people out there, look at it when someone starts in a new job and they're putting 100% effort in, which realistically, it's only 90% anyway. And after week 1, we start seeing a change.
Yeah.
Right? Now, why is that? Because 1% a day. Think of it like this. Imagine if you just lose 1% of effort a day. It's very easy after a month to see a 30% drop in someone. Very easy. What happens after 3 months? Suddenly we're working at 50%. Now, we don't notice that 1% every day. Does it matter if you lose 1% a day? No, but it matters if you lose it every day. And that's why we have to be strict with the effort we put in, with the habits we build, with the structure we do, with the format and the processes we put in place. Because otherwise, after a year, you feel that you're still putting in 100% effort, but you're not. You're at 30% potential. Because we're losing that. We've shaved it off a bit a day. I'll make 1 less call today. I'll make 10 less calls tomorrow. 2 weeks later, we're closing a little bit less, and we're doing a few less calls, and we're going in 10 minutes late, and we're having a bit longer lunch, and we're finishing half an hour earlier, and we're talking to their mates on WhatsApp. Suddenly, we've lost 30% of our day, and we're making less effort. And then we wonder why our results are not as strong.
Mm-hmm. So when do people get into that sales and that closing process? What are some easy steps? Because as you mentioned, people talk too much. You know, a lot of people know this, but how would you simplify that? Is there a simple like 3-step question? And obviously, guys, you know, in David's program, you know, he lays it out, like, you know, the frameworks and all that. But within this frameworks, you have to know how to like tackle it in case if there's an objection that comes in. But what's that basic framework that everyone should know at first? You know?
There's a very old part of it. Anyone who's watched any old sales movies, there's something called AIDA, which I don't know if you're aware of over there. A lot of people will heard it. And that comes down to attention, interest, desire, action. Now, this is 4 steps of a sale. Now, it's cheesy and it's tacky, but it makes sense because what happens is you have to have their attention fully before you can get their interest. You have to have their interest before you want to build desire, and you have to have a desire before taking action. Now, the reason this is tacky but true is too many people get a little bit of attention, they get a little bit of interest, and straight away they're trying to get them to buy. But they haven't got the person to desire the product enough. Now, the easiest step to jump through all of the AIDA process is by the questions that you ask. Because questions don't matter if you're in marketing or if you're in sales. You just need the right questions. Now, a lot of people out there, when they are nervous, will ask terrible questions because it feels less painful. And I don't know if you've ever took a Band-Aid off slowly. It's nowhere near. You try to convince yourself it's a better idea than just ripping it off. But as soon as it's ripped off, it's done. Sitting there and peeling it back, especially for guys who've got hairy arms.
Yeah.
It's not the one, right? So when you're looking at your questions, you've got to work out, what do I want the answers to? Then you can work out the question, and then it's working out how the question is structured. So a very simple way is to make sure you're asking open-ended questions. So within a question, starting with what, who, when, how, and why. Because what you want to be able to do is you want to ask a question and you're literally giving the microphone to the person you're talking to, and then you can just shut up. If you just say, do you like what I'm talking about? Yes or no? They don't really have anywhere to go with that. But if you say to them, what do you like about what I've said so far? Okay, I like the service sounds good. What about the service? Like, you can very simply just add little bits onto these questions. And if you've got a series on the platform, I think there's 147 open-ended questions. Now, do you want to ask 147 questions on a thing? No. But you want to have the preparation far greater than you'll ever need. And the questions will be suitable for different types of people and for different products that you're selling. And if you focus on open-ended questions, focus on the light always shining on the other person. Anytime there's a silence, you should be asking something which you're going to find out more about them. And people like talking about themselves, even shy people. But a lot of people are concerned about criticism. So what happens next is, say you've got great questions. If someone asks a great question, say if you ask me a great question and I give you an answer that you don't like and you bite my head off, next time you ask me a question, am I going to be as open to giving you a clear answer? No.
Yeah.
Because you'd have put me off. So not only do we need to have our mindset right and we need to have the right questions, we also need to be able to smoothly and fluently move from a question into an objection and out of it with an objection handle. And this is where the next part comes on. Objections are good.
Objections are good.
They're clear. Now, you think of any objection, and if someone turns around and says, I hate you, right? There's a big difference between someone being an idiot than giving a clear objection. You think of any objection of what someone is going to talk to you about. I need to speak to my partner, right? Everyone gets this. Now, what are they actually saying at that point? They're actually telling us they're interested. Or they're trying to get you off the phone. It's one of two things. So if it's a genuine objection, that's because they are interested in your product and they are nervous about the decision that happens if they do this, that the partner is going to say. So they either don't get enough value from it, but you shouldn't see that as a bad thing. If you always get hit with the same everyone always tells me I need to speak to the partner. But that's because you're not doing something on that call to help them see the value in it. Or you didn't pre-qualify that person enough to find out whether they are a sole decision maker or if it's a person of influence or getting all the decision makers on that call. It's on you as a salesperson to know that. Because if you've pre-qualified someone at the start of a call, but Derek's a sole decision, you're a sole decision maker, no one else is involved in it, and then we're on a call and you're like, I need to speak to my other half. But you can quite easily talk to them and go, listen, remember I spoke earlier, I'm cool with you talking to someone else, but you said before that you're a sole decision maker. Now that means something's happened since there to now. Now, whether you buy from me or not, I'm fine with it, but I really need to know what's happened. What did I do?
Right.
Why are you so scared?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
Because if you've got someone who's already interested in your product, they can afford it, they're a decision maker. Now they're saying, no. Imagine if you're out on a date and you turn up for the date and we're like, no, I can't go out today. My cat's ill.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a choice then to start moaning at the person or think, well, what the hell's happened? Something's happened, whether it's their nerves or a reason. So if you have an arsenal of the right questions at this point, this won't phase you. But a lot of people, as soon as they do this big effort of a pitch, you've done the cannonball pitch, you've done all the enthusiasm, you've done all the work, you pitched them, and then you've got to an objection, and then you're like, oh, they're not even a decision maker. That person sees that, hears that, senses it. And then the doubt that they had has now been strengthened by what you've just done. And then they're like, oh, I knew there was something wrong about this guy. Look at the way he's acting because I said I need to speak to my partner.
Right. Would you say it'd be helpful to really pre-frame and preset certain tone and rules before the whole call, right? You know, okay,
100%.
Right. And that's how you're going to know.
100%. If you're not prepared to ask the uncomfortable questions before you're in a presentation mode, you will definitely not want to ask them later on.
Mm-hmm. Right. And especially with that example where like the person has to ask the partner first, you have to ask, are you the sole independent decision maker? And
right. This is the interesting thing with this. Sorry to interrupt. This, again, when we're talking about qualifying on there, if you ask some people out there, let's play devil's advocate. Are there people out there that if you said, are you a sole decision maker, that they would automatically say yes because they wouldn't want to feel stupid? Right. So if we know those people are out there, we need to take that question and we need to twist it a bit to make sure that everyone is going to be happy to answer it honestly, or as many as we can. Now, this is the easier way to say it. Listen, Derek, I'm more than happy to jump on a call with you later on today, and I think it'll be great. Let me know. Say you love this. You want to go ahead. You're sold on it. It's brilliant. Who else is involved in that decision? So instead of saying, are you the only person,
right,
which is our closed question, by saying who else, if they turn around and say, no, it's literally me, brilliant. But if they say, well, actually, I might run it past my wife, or how much is it going to be, or this, now you know you can talk to them more because you've let the guard down and made them feel comfortable enough to say, actually, yeah, do you know, my wife is a bit involved in this. My husband is a little bit involved in that. Or I do have a business partner. Because the objection is there. If there is a problem, it's already there. You're just the person that doesn't know. So you want to ask the right question. They know whether they can do something without their partner or their husband or their wife or their business partner. You're the only person who doesn't know. So don't play into their hands and try and get an easy qualification because it won't get you the deal. Because if they do need help, if they do have an influencer, if they do have a person who's a co-signer, that's already a fact. You need to know it beforehand and find out if this is a qualified prospect or someone you've just ushered on the phone because you've got nothing better to do with your time.
True. Now, with those, going back to the 4-step process of sales where you ask good questions, right? The open-ended questions, and then expect the objections. Where would you go from there? Going back with that same example, sticking with that same example.
Well, this is the whole thing with objections. The objection is there to find out, one, is it a true objection?
Okay.
Right? So we need to know, is this a true objection or... So you give me any objection you want. Give me any objection.
Oh, I don't have the funds right now.
Cool. Right. So we're talking about money. So if someone turns around to me and says, listen, I don't have the money right now. Cool. Put the money to one side. Do you like it? Well, yeah. Okay. What do you like about it? What's the main things you're interested in? If you could take something out of it, what would it be? Right. And then you go down the rabbit hole more about there. So you're telling me everything else out there, and then you can isolate the objection. And by isolate, I mean, take everything else out. So listen, if I magicked £10,000 in your account now, and this was 9,800, will you pull the trigger on this right now? Would you run it past anyone? Is there anyone you want to consult? Would you want to do it? No, listen, I love it. I literally just don't have 9,800. Now you're at the stage where then if you're in a product where you've got something where you can give them terms, or you can do this, or you can do that, then you can isolate it. Because then you go, listen, if I go and speak to my manager and I can get this on terms, how does that sound? Because that person might be a genuine thing. Listen, I love it. If like, well, actually, no, I need to speak to my wife. Now you know it wasn't a money objection.
Right.
So then you need to go back through and either repitch, bring more value to it. But if you isolate it, and they're like, listen, mate, if you give me the money now, I'd jump all over this. This is what I need in my... That's what you want to hear. So then you need to work out, do I have a path I can go down which either is on a payment plan, or they can do this, or do they need to go? You might be at the stage where it's a higher ticket item. They might say, I don't have the money right now. That doesn't mean they don't have the money. How many people do you know that have money in savings, investments, bonds, whatever it might be? They might need to move money around for it. Now, they might not be ready to do that, but you need to ascertain whether they've got enough value in your product to even get to that stage. What a lot of people will do is they'll go, no money. They'll either freak out about it or they'll try and steamroll them. What do you mean you haven't got the money? You need to do this, blah, blah, blah. But if that's not the problem, it's not the point. So we need to know, is this objection a true objection? Is it an actual hurdle? Is it an actual thing? Or is it actually they're just not really that into you?
I see.
Because that's the real thing too.
That's
People
true.
don't give a crap about anything more than their money. Like if you've got a product that's £5,000, imagine I've got something here and you like it and it's 5,000. You've got £5,000 in your bank. Even if you see £4,500 worth of value in it, you're not going to hand over £5,000. because you don't see enough value. If you see £5,000 worth of value, you might buy it, but you still might not. But if you see £7,000 worth of value, then it seems like a bargain. And we have to make sure that people have more value in the product or service than it's going to cost them. Because if they don't, why the hell would they pay it, hand it over? You'd have to be crazy. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah. You usually, how long does this 4-step process take?
Depends on what you're selling. I've got people which I will talk to that have products which they will get people into. It depends on a number of factors. What your product is, how big your company is. If you're selling someone into a product they've never heard of, then you might have a 2-call process. You might have a 3-call process. Now, you can have a 1-call, a 2-call, a 3-call, whatever it might be. You just need to have a structure behind it. If you're going in and you're doing a 2-call process where you're calling someone up and you're calling, I don't know, a plumbing company up, and you're phoning up to introduce them because you're going to be in the neighborhood in a week's time. So then you're phoning up and you're doing an introduction and you already know who the decision maker, whoever, John Barnes, the director. You've spoke to John. You told him you're going to be in the area. You've told him you can save him 30% on the things. He's already said he's interested. But that's not necessarily something you want to be closing at that point, because you're going to be there and you want to sell him face-to-face the following week. Now, if you're working in a different state, then actually that might be something where you're trying to do as a 1-call sale because your company's got a reputation, or you can do stuff over the phone. There's so many things that you can be doing that can bring the time scale down. A lot of the time, people are doing a longer sale process for themselves because they're uncomfortable. They want people to sell themselves. They think if I send you this nice brochure, they're going to buy. Now, we know deep down, most people are not going to. Most people need to have help and guidance and support and have questions answered to get to the stage where they're going to execute on a deal. But a lot of the time, we think it's a miracle that for us, it will be different. We've all had those sales moments where we have been the buyer and we were happy with a product and we still didn't buy. And we know there's a chance that if someone had helped me just a little bit more, if someone had spoken a little bit more, closed a bit better, I could have brought it and I would have still been happy. There's still those chances. So if we do that and we miss out on buying things because we weren't sold effectively, then we have to realize that's going to happen with other people. So it doesn't matter whether to answer your question, if you're doing a 1-call, a 3-call, a 4-call, I think there's a limit to it, but it depends how you work. If you're going to be, I know a company that do a 2-call process, but it's in the same day. They have someone call up, they introduce themselves. While they're on the phone, they'll send a WhatsApp to them, which is a brochure. Listen, go to page 6 on here, look at this, go to page 8. Does that look good? They qualify them. And go, listen, what I want you to do now is if you go off and work out A, B, C, D, I'm going to come back to you. What time should we speak? They qualify them on time, 5 o'clock. Obviously, this is not a full call, but it gives you an idea. And then they tee them up, they qualify them, they close, and they call them back at 5 o'clock. Now, they've already pre-qualified this person, but actually, if it's X, Y, and Z, are you happy to get started? Who else needs to be on that call? So when they go back at 5, now some of their guys have massive success with this. Other people, they try and force them into that 5 o'clock deal. And what happens at 5 o'clock? They don't want to answer. Because they've forced them into it. The people who do the best have done all the selling at that first point. That gap between the phone call in the morning and the evening one was for due diligence. The other people have come in, they've done a little bit of opening here, haven't qualified, and then in the evening they've gone, oh, that's right, I'll just close them a bit better in the evening. And the person hasn't got enough interest or desire to pick up the phone, so they're not ready to take action.
Right. So like someone in the chat wrote down, what if their objection is like, oh, your price is too high. You're all the same. Just send me info. I'll get back to you.
Cool. Well, straight away, what are they saying? They're telling us that they don't see enough value for our money, right?
So it goes back to bring value,
They're also saying you're all the same. So what does that mean? They're tired of looking around. So they've done a lot of research. Now, at this point, I personally would be talking to them. If you're on a phone to them and they're like, listen, just send me out some info. Go, listen, I will send you out some info happily, but But as you spent a lot of time looking at the other companies, I'm not going to be as naive to think you've got every time in there. You're already frustrated. So you tell me, what exactly is it you want and you don't want, so I can make sure that you get the right content that's suitable for you. Because you've got to realize these people. If someone's gone through and spoke to 8 other companies, they might genuinely want your product, but they just think that you're as bad as the last person. So say to them, listen, I'll send the information out, but we need to know where you are. Because so far you've had 8 brochures,
Right.
and so far you haven't found anything in them. So either all those 8 companies are terrible, which is a chance, but actually what might be the case is this person needs one-on-one care, one-on-one interaction and communication, and they need to realize that you give a crap, but you actually are there to help them. They're saying, send me the brochure because they are bored of being there, having their time wasted. And you should focus on that. But listen, I can send you a brochure out right now. But I think if I just send it out, you're frustrated enough that you probably won't give it its time it needs. So you tell me, what did you see in the last 4 companies that you didn't like? Oh, they were this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. Okay, one ask question. What is it you really need here? Because I don't want to send you over a lot of bump that frustrates you. I want to send you out the good stuff, the stuff which is unique to you that you need help with. So you tell me, I'm a genie in a lamp, you've given me a rub, and I've got to fix one problem. What do I fix for you to make this work? Well, the price has got to be right. Cool. Why? So I say, like, help that person. Because if they're thinking you're the same as everyone else, you can't be the same as everyone else. If they're saying just send me the info, what they're really saying is just fix my problem.
Right. And if they say that, oh, I had a bad experience with a similar product, right? You just got to keep asking the questions and figuring out what are they looking for, and you just fulfill that by bringing that value.
Welcome it.
Yeah.
But if someone's turned around to you and they say, listen, I don't want to deal with this. I dealt with another company down the road and they were awful. Go, listen, you are not the first and you are not the last people that will ever tell me this. Now, let me ask you a question. Was it because of their product or was it their service? Well, it's their product. What it didn't work, or it just wasn't a good fit for you, right? So this is, instead of always asking open-ended questions, when you're at that stage, you need to have some good alternate choice questions, because they don't want to necessarily talk a lot then. Now they're frustrated. So now you need to almost quick fire round. Okay, listen, was it product or service? Was it not a good fit, or it was faulty? Bam, bam, bam. You need to have alternates so that you can go from here to this way, that way, here, and so within 10 seconds, ask 5 quick questions, you know they're a problem. Oh, yeah, but listen, we bought it, it was great, and it looked great, but it stopped working after 3 weeks, and we called customer service, and they were a pain, and it took a month, and my wife was going mad, and she told me I shouldn't buy it anyway, blah, blah, blah. Suddenly you know where you are, right? It wasn't the problem. What is the problem? His wife hates him for making a decision, and it's caused him nothing but a headache, and now he's worried about having the same mistake. Listen, I get you, and I was talking to a guy down the road the other week. This happened to him, and let me tell you what he would tell you if he was here right now. He would tell you that, and you can explain how your other customers who've come through a similar thing, how it's helped them. Because they're still a buyer. They're just a buyer who's annoyed with your competition, which if you can get them right, they'll be a client of yours for life. I can't hear you.
Sorry. Yeah, so that's very true. You do have to really get the customer's value and their questions and what their concerns are, because that's really what sales is about.
We see the objections as hurdles, and they are hurdles, and they can be frustrating. But the frustrations are on you. Just because you haven't done any deals this month. Imagine working in a Ferrari garage where you might only sell 2 Ferraris in a year. And how many people come in that garage and they do mess you about, and they do this and they do that, and they say this and they say that, and you know that they're messing you around. And then the one guy who comes in who looks like an absolute mess, but he's got all the money because you held on to all the stigma from the previous people, and he could have put it on his debit card straight away, and you missed that deal because you held on to it. You held on to it, not them. It wasn't them. If you're in an industry where you don't like the way your prospects work, change your prospects, change your angle, change your product, change your job.
Right.
Because you can't expect the service you can't expect, sorry, the prospect to be there to help you. There's a guy that I know at the moment, he works in a company called PC World in the UK, which is like a computer stereo shop.
It's pretty big, that.
Yeah. And he was moaning, I hate when people always come in and moan about this and they want to get a better price. We're like, but your job is to service that client for the company. Like, they're not here to make your life easier. I hate when people won't make decisions on TVs. Some TVs are like £5,000. What you want to just? I'll just take that one. If you don't mind, I'll carry it out myself as well, because I don't want to put your like. I said, like, why do you work there? Like, if you don't enjoy that job, if it's not satisfying you, change your job. If you're in sales, you have a very unique ability to change industries. If you're a dentist, you're stuck in dentistry. If you're in sales, you can walk into a garage and go, do you know what? I love Mustangs. Go to a Ford garage and go, mate, listen, I'm going to help sell Mustangs. I love them things. Because you know how to sell. You can go from doing business to business to consumer to face, high ticket, low ticket. You can get your own product range. You can become an affiliate. You can become, look, it's everything sales.
Right.
And that skill set, if we've got that right, you can move industries like that. There's not many other roles, but you can earn the money you can in sales and have the freedom to change industries whenever you want. And people,
sorry to interrupt you, but with this 4-step process that could be applicable to a lot of different entrepreneurs in different industry, the 4 steps, what's the very ending one to close them?
Right. So the very end one is more about you than anything else. So there's a big jump before you start closing. So you've gone through your objections. You know the objections are there. You said earlier about that nervousness when you get into closing. Instead of worrying about closing, one thing that I always talk to people about is trial closes. So a close is asking the interest and the level of interest, engaging it without actually asking for the order. So before you're like, right, okay, do you want to put this on your credit card or debit card? Or do you want 7 days on this or return of post? Or blah. This is all great. But there's no point in trying to shoot for the goal straight away. Test the water out with that prospect. Say things along the lines of, can you see this being a good fit for you? Do you think this would work well with your team? Right? Now, if you've asked 5, 6, 7 trial questions throughout your prospecting pitch, you're going to be a lot more competent with asking them. So imagine if you said, would this be a good fit for your team? Yes. Can you see that this would save you 20%? Yes. Do you feel like this is a good color for what you need? Does this fit in their size of this? And is this on that? And you know all these. When you come to the actual close, you've gone through objections. You've done your trial closes. Now you're at a point where you actually go to close. You can recap and go, okay, so just to recap on this, you like the color. The team's going to love it. It's going to fit well. It's within the budget. You like the style. You've got this. Is there anything I've missed? No. Great. Now, when you do that and you go to the close, it's a lot more comfortable for you and for the buyer. Because that recap on all your trial closes, if you've been, some sales calls can be long.
Right.
Really can be, and you forget, you can say a lot of stuff. So I advise on a lot of people out there, before you close your deal, recap exactly what is going to happen, what they like, because they might have even forgot themselves. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So before you close, recap, because you've used your trial closes. A lot of these, it's not necessarily a 4-step, but you've got your trial closes because you're using that as the cannon to build up to the actual close. Because if you're asking those questions and you're asking the right questions at the right time, when you lead into the close, you'll be more confident. They'll remember what they're buying for. Does that make sense?
That does make sense. So the 4 steps for everyone is just the open-ended questions, objections, right? Isolating them, bring more value, and then trial closing. And that could be applied to any industry itself.
With any industry. And do you know the thing is, the questions that you ask and the objections you have, most objections that you get, genuine objections will come down to a number of things, like no money, lack of money or liquidity or whatever you want to word it as, interest and trust. Trust is the main crux that we've got here. If they've got trust and belief in your ability and what you do, then they're going to have more confidence.
That's true.
So having things like testimonials, third-party reviews, a good reputation, Trustpilot, whatever it might be, makes it a lot easier for people to do it, because people sometimes don't buy because of a fear of making a mistake. Right.
And that's the last step in the KLT process. Know, like, and trust the person.
Yeah,
trust is the last step. You really have to.
You've got to build the trust up, and if you can't build that trust, you have to be able to show what other people have done. Not everyone out there is a maverick and want to buy off anyone out there. And if you need to build trust, then this might be the reason why you're not coming in. If you work for a big company, but they know that a one-call sale or one presentation sale will work a lot better. But if actually you've got to prove to this person that you are reliable, that you can deliver, when you do this, then often that'll be why a second call or a third call sale process will work.
True.
But it's knowing what you want to get out of that.
That's very, very true. Now, that's all great information. Really, really great. Thank you so much for explaining that and taking time to really answer those questions, especially with the questions that are being asked in the comments. Now, one of the reasons I connected with you and brought you on because with the software, like in this group right here, a lot of people have used or are using my software befriend group mates, and that helps find ideal clients first, right? The lead generation part, attracting them and really connecting them inside Messenger. And from there, people can get lost if they don't know the proper sales process. And I think this is where it really helps connect everything together, right?
Yeah.
There's not a lot of programs out there for like marketers or coaches that really goes over the sales process in detail. Some of them have gone through them. Like I've talked to some, of my clients and they've gone through them, but it wasn't as thorough. They kind of give you the basic,
a lot of people are hype. A lot of hype out there.
Yeah.
A lot of energy. Like, you can do it. Just keep going. Never give up.
Right.
But actually, we need steps.
Right. True. And what's so different about your program specifically?
The steps are there. Mine is broke down. So if you look at the level of content that's on there. So with the platform itself, like I said earlier, it's 390 or 400 individual videos. Now, these are all interactive. So you go onto a video, you watch it, you can add notes, it'll ask questions at the end, which make you pay attention, which is annoying if you're having a long day, but it also makes you absorb the information. And there's no point in going through, like we spoke earlier about activity and productivity. So that, what first and foremost makes a massive difference. But what it also does, it gives you the understanding behind what to do. So not only do you, rather than hype, I'll hype people up. And so I have people that join the platform when there's the full access, plus you're getting on Zoom calls and stuff. And then I've got people I actually one-to-one coach on top of that. So I can give you all the hype in the world, but the platform will give you the structure on what to actually say. So like, for example, when we're talking about open-ended questions, there's 140 open-ended questions that you can sit and watch and write down. There's an section on there called the Objection Bible. And there you literally can download all the objections. So, for example, there's 5 options on there just for no money. There's about 10 on there for interest. It breaks down there in how to refine, isolate, all the way through your objection. So not only are you getting what to say and when, but you're also going to get, on top of that, why to say it. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Knowing hype is good, but hype doesn't help you on a call. Hype doesn't help you on what to say. So, for example, I've just uploaded a lot of stuff now that we're talking about online marketing, about how to sell on the DMs. Now, selling in a DM is a very vital thing nowadays.
It
and
is.
A lot of people,
it's like the next thing.
Do you know the amount of people I've got now that are students that cold messaged me? And literally they message me and I'm like, does that normally work? Yeah, I do really, really well. Great. How many deals do you get from us a month? 2. What's each deal worth? $150 or whatever it'll be. Okay, what's your potential? I don't know. And suddenly it makes people stop and think. Just because you're getting some results doesn't mean you're hitting your potential.
Correct.
And what the sales network does is goes through in a motion where you go, okay, so what are you doing? What's the results? What's our potential? And how do we bridge that gap? So, for example, if you're not good at objection handling, and today you know you're going to be going into doing a serious amount of phone calls. In the morning, you log on. There's a video of me, and it's talking you through everything to do with objections. Now, if you on that morning learn objection handling, what is fresh in your mind? Objections and how to handle them. So you've got your downloads, you've done your videos. When you get in that call, you are going to be 10 times sharper than the person out there that hasn't looked at a single bit of this in 6 weeks, but read it on a PDF, that have just had hype. And you'll also have the confidence and the ability combined. And if you've got the confidence and the ability, all you have to do is keep repeating that same work, and eventually you'll get massive success off it. Does that make sense?
That's true. And going back to, you mentioned how it's so important at the very end to really recap on what's going to happen for the client, customer, and all that. Some people are asking, really, since this whole interview, thing is about how to close a sale to get more business without just feeling salesy. In the last few minutes that we have, could you give like an case example that you've had in the past, how to close, from the start to the end?
Okay, so again, what we need to do is have context with a lot of this stuff. So when we're talking about people now, what are we give me an idea. What are we going to talk about? Do you want to talk about phone sales, selling through a DM, face-to-face? Because all of this makes a difference on the way you do things. If you're doing face-to-face, going through, and this is one thing I still love now, doing face-to-face meetings with contracts and pens and paper, where you're actually sitting with it because it's more theatrical. If you're on the phone, you have to have a lot more of a strict overview when you're doing the face-to-face. If you're in a meeting room, in a face-to-face meeting, you know you have a structure, and that person at no point, unless you offend them, is going to get up and walk out.
Right.
Where actually, if you're on a phone call when you come to the close, you have to be a lot more pre-armed with it, because at any point you go, the dog's just fallen over, I need to go. Anything to get off the call. So your actual approach to the call is more based around doing a series of around 5 to 10 trial closes. So say if your presentation is 20 minutes long, so your trial closes would start halfway through. So say 10 to 12 minutes in, and you would then start bringing in trial closes, which are moving them along towards the path, because your end goal is here to have them closed. If you're here now, we need to bring them up, so we need to qualify them, and we need to go through. Also, bringing up objections before they bring them up can be a really clever way for closing more business. So, for example, say if your plan is to get them to pay on the phone, that depends on what you're going to approach them with. So, do you need paperwork? If you need paperwork, you need to make sure that you've got this slick. So say, right, me and you are going to get you signed up now, and you're going to subscribe to some phone service. It's going to cost £499. You know that the price is coming. I know the price is coming. So if I pre-qualified you and I say, listen, I've really enjoyed talking to you today. As I said to you at the start of this phone call, and I know you're aware of this, I like to make sure that people make a decision on the call, just because you're busy, Derek. And to be frank, I don't really have the chance to follow up with everyone out there. Now, the main problem we've got at the moment is that you said you want to make sure that we can cover X, Y, and Z, lower it by 30%. You also said, if I remember rightly, that you think this will be a good fit for within the team. Was there anything else I missed out at that point? Or does this tick everything that you need at the moment? You're like, okay, yeah, it ticks all the boxes. Great. So all we're going to do from here on in is to get this installed for you today. We're just going to go through. I'm going to make sure I've got everything here logistically. Is there anything you need answering at this point from me? Or should we go through and start making the steps all organized for you now? Now, this gives them a chance before you ask for the card, before you ask for the signing the paperwork. It gives them a final out before you go into that close. Now, once you go past this point, you should have already gone through objections. You should have already gone through it. So this should just be a formality. Your close actually is done 3/4 of the way through that call. Now, if at this point when you go through, okay, great, all I need now is this, like the 16-digit card number on your card, whatever it might be, or I've just sent you a link now, do me a favor, just log onto your email while I'm on the phone and just make sure you've got that.
Right.
And then you're doing it. What you don't want to be saying is, okay, I'm sending you a contract now. I need you to sign that straight away. So the grammatical way for you, the grammar that you use when you are talking to them will make a dramatic difference. Okay, right, I need you to pay £5,000 right now. It's a very different way from, okay, cool. All that's left to do now is to get this processed. Do you have your card to hand, or should I hold while you get it?
Yeah, that sounds completely different, right?
Got what I'm saying? Right. So then you're moving into alternate choices, because what we don't want to use in the close is our open-ended questions.
True, that's very true. You don't,
we've used our open-ended questions here. Now we're moving into an alternate choice. Great. Well, it looks like on our system, but we can have that delivered out to you today, which will be great. Are you going to be in all day, or are we going to be leaving this with a neighbor? Now, if you've got a series of 8 to 10 alternate choice questions, well, I'm not too sure if I need to do it right now. Okay, great. Well, we can get this scheduled for when you want. What's the main thing that's holding us back now? Or, okay, great. Where do you want it delivered to? Because a lot of the time, if it's a kickback, it's not necessarily they don't want the product.
Right.
So we have to work this out. Now, on the platform itself, what I've done is I broke down not just leading questions. So this is a series of questions. You've done your pitch, and now we want to get to the close. And then there's a series of trial questions to get you to that stage, which isolates pretty much everything. Now, at any point, if they come out of that, they should drop straight into a sale. Most of the time, the objections will come out when you're doing your trial closes. The other way of doing it is coming into it, doing a full pitch, and then bringing in your series of around about 4 to 5 alternative choices. Now, the ideal situation is, okay, John, we're all ready to get this done. Looks like we've got it set up. We're going to have this delivered to you by tomorrow. We just need to get this processed now. Do you have your card to hand, or do I hold while you get it? Now, if they don't go with that, oh, I'm not quite ready, that's fine. Blah, blah, blah. Answer some more questions. And then you move into the second section of alternate choices. And you've got, make sure that you've got this. You need to pre-armed, but expecting objections is normal. And knowing what the objections would be. And if you've been an effective salesperson, you will know where the hurdles come from. If that's your company's reputation, which hopefully it isn't. If it's that your delivery times right now, where this is a problem or that's a problem. You should know your industry, and you shouldn't be able to take the objections that I have, the objection handles I have, write them out or adapt them on your computer so that you can smoothly and eloquently process that to those people. Because it won't necessarily work word for word. But if you see the way I put it out there, and you go, okay, I'm in telecoms, then you need to change the way the delivery happens. Okay, well, your paperwork's coming out today. You need to sign it and return it back to us. So your closes are based around the product that you've got, if that makes sense.
Right. And it gets kind of complicated as it keeps going, depending on the clients or customers, objections.
This is the hard thing we've got with doing it on the phone now. If someone turns around to me and says, okay, I work in car sales.
Right.
So how do I go into the close with that? Well, actually, a lot of your closing would have been done before the test drive. So actually, the questions we will ask about this will be about warranty or about insurance, about whether it's being collected today or delivered or prepped.
Right. Okay.
So what we need to do is have alternative choice questions based around our industry.
Right.
So dependent on your industry would be the way you would tweak them.
Right. Well, David, someone's asking, is there a script that they could follow, like a basic script they could follow for beginners, obviously, right?
Yes. So, it depends on what industry or what type of sales.
Affiliate marketing and business opportunities.
Okay. Even what I'm saying is this based on on the phone, or are we talking about doing it in the DMs, or are we talking
I think
about
nowadays it's so popular in the DMs? Is there a script people can use for it?
So with DMs, the main thing is it's like a funnel. Now, I'm not saying set up a funnel, but if you're messaging people now, so say if you're using software and you've got a question, the worst, think about what you don't like when you receive a message.
Right. It's like, oh, nice to connect with you. If you want to check out my page, here's the link.
Yeah, here's my links, and here's this, and here's that, and I'm doing this, blah, blah, and here's their picture of them with their dog or whatever it is, and there's this, and there's that, and do this. How many times do you ever read them? Right. So instead of thinking about what we need to do as a script, think about what you don't want to receive. What are you most likely to receive? Someone messages me and just says, hey, man, thanks for following me. How's business? There's a potential chance I'll reply to that. Yeah, great, thanks, blah, blah, blah. Because if you come into it and you're trying to pitch them without introducing, imagine if it's face-to-face and I walked up to you and said, hi, Derek, my name's David Angel and I'm the host of a sales now. And this is a full-line to-line platform. I've got a book here for you. Why don't you do this? And you haven't even had a chance to speak. What actually happens is a conversation. Hi, Derek, I'm David. What do you do? Oh, I do this. Okay, cool. How's business? Yeah, going well. Okay, well, listen, I talk to a lot of people in your industry at the moment. So say if you're doing something like a business services, I talk to a lot of people just like you at the moment. And I tell you what, with all the COVID stuff at the moment, a lot of people are finding it's harder to generate leads. But some people are telling you they've got too many leads and they don't know how to close them. I mean, does that sound familiar for you? Now, if they're like, no, I'm killing it in business, you might well find that that person is not a potential prospect at the moment. But if they turn around and go, yeah, do you know what? I'm really struggling with leads because we've chucked an alternate choice in there. Right. Or no, I've got loads of leads. Because there's one or two things. Either people have got an abundance of leads or they haven't. So if you're using alternative choice, cool. So tell me, I mean, what's your conversion ratio at the minute? I talk to a lot of people out there. Most people are converting anything from sort of 20 to 30%, or are you doing a lot better? Oh, no, we're closing 60%. Great. That must be good. So if you've got loads of leads and you're closing 60%, how many deals does that make a month? I don't know, 100, 200? No, more like 50. Cool. And what's the deal value to you? Because a lot of people, because if you're using a lot of other people I talk to are talking about this. A lot of other people are this. Oh, I was talking to one of your competitors and they said this.
Right.
It's a lot less forceful than how many deals do you do in a month?
Right.
How much money do you make? Because what you're doing is you're casting a net out there. One of the things that I've always utilized with it is asking alternative choice in a prospecting messaging side is a lot easier for people to understand. Because if I say to you now, I don't know, do you prefer daytime or night? That's quite a boring question. But if we're talking online about something to do with business, and listen, I tell you what, business right now for some people is either hot or cold. They're either absolutely thriving or they think the recession is going to kill them. What is it for you? Mate, the recession worries me. Now, if you know that someone's worried about the recession, what's their main concern thing going to be at the moment? You know that their thought pattern is going to be more about risk, being risk adverse, safety conscious. So having that right question tells you a lot about other things. If someone else is saying business is thriving, then you need to go down there. Okay, cool. So you're really, really busy. Does that make it harder for you to grow the business at the moment? Do you see what I'm saying? So we need to know where our next parallel is going to be.
That's true, and it tailors to everyone individually. There's,
because you've got a niche that you're going into, surely. Right. If you're going into the automotive section, or I don't know why I keep talking about cars, but if you're doing that and you're messaging people out there, if you message them, hi mate, you're looking for a car, you're not going to get me because they know we're going to get pitched. Right. But if you go on their thing, and you can see on their wall that they drive a Mustang or whatever it is. Hey, man, I love your Mustang. I'm really into it. Blah, blah, blah. Check this one out. And you send a picture of the Mustang you've just had in, which is the new model. And they're like, man, I love that car. Yeah, it's great. Listen, I work over at so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. Don't know if you know anyone who's interested, who's doing upgrades. But this is what I'm doing at the minute. Let me know if that's of interest. Because you can't force people on a DM.
Right.
You can do lots of open invites. Yeah, listen, I don't know if you care, which is quite a good thing to say. Listen, I don't know if you care, but I'm seeing massive success in your industry by doing X at the moment. Because you say, I don't know if you care, most people are going to be like, well, yeah, of course I care.
Okay, yeah. That could definitely be a starting point. A lot of people are just starting off. I've had a lot of DMs. People just, cold message me and all that. And it's like, oh, no.
Yeah, it makes it, and you know the thing is, it's just being clear with people as well. If you're straight up with them and you're saying, listen, I know someone who messages people and he'll send them a message and it's like, hey, yeah, another one of those annoying messages. Because you've got to stand out. Now, some people won't react well to that message, but he said to me before, he's like, I started to get quite a bit of business because some people just laugh and they'll just send back an emoji of a laughing emoji. Now, that's an open conversation then. You go, yeah, sorry about that, but you know what it's like. Listen, I'm not here trying to sell you anything today, but I see on your wall you're into Mustangs, and we've had a lot of great things around the moment. Would you mind if I sent you a video over of our new 5-litre Mustang that we've just had come in? It's got this cool kit.
Right.
Now, if you're never into cars, they're going to be into that. So it's about the niche that you've got as well, using a series of small invitational questions, which are generic, but have alternative choices.
Right.
Because if you say, are you interested in, what are we getting? A yes or a no? But tell me, listen, are you interested in the moment in growth at the moment, or are you more caring about redealing your existing clients?
Right. That's
so we need
true.
to have a series of alternative questions for DMs more than pitching. And text like a message like a teenager. No one wants to see it big.
No
one wants that.
Right.
No one
That's
wants
true.
to see a big long book come through, because there's no thought gone into it.
You're right. That's very
Especially
true.
if you message me and say, hey man, how's things? And I'm yeah, cool. And then you send me a book, it's clearly copy and pasted.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah,
that's one of the strategies
and
too.
message
Some
short.
tips, guys. Some tips. Don't send long block messages. Separate them.
Have good questions.
Yeah.
Like if you ask a good question, if you think that sending a copy and pasted message is going to help you sell more effectively, you're delusional. People don't care. And all that's going to happen is you're going to send a big long message. Then you start questioning life. Then you start thinking, am I any good? Well, you are good, but the problem is you're doing small things really badly. Mm-hmm. If you spend I say to people at the moment, if you're doing messaging now, if you're not messaging 50 people a day, then if you're getting a lot of business, you don't need to message. That's cool. But if you're not getting enough business in a day, messaging 50 people, write out a series of different messages. Right, I'm going to write out 5 different introductions. This week, I'm going to do this. Or one day you do 50 messages, the next day you do a different one. Because then as long as you put a list down of which it is, you'll see which you get more replies from.
True. Yeah, that's true. It's just a trial and error, basically.
Massively. And it depends on who you're pitching, what industry you're pitching. Right. Are you doing it on things like LinkedIn? Are you doing it on Instagram and Facebook? There's a very big different reaction that you'll get. And it won't always work on different platforms in the same way.
Right. That's good. Well, David, I know we're on the hour, a little past it now, but thank you so much for the value.
No, I've enjoyed it.
Yeah. So I know in this group, there's some beginners as well as, already experienced people. And if they are interested in learning more about the sales process. Now, we talked about how you have this free consultation call.
Yes.
If they're interested, right?
Yeah. So I'm a big believer that one of the big hurdles we've got at the moment on this call is I want to bring as much value as I can, but we've got to remember, however many people see in this video now, you could be in a very different industry to other people. And there's no point in giving specifics that won't work for you. So what we've talked about and what I think is the best way to do it is I'm opening up a series of free strategy calls. Now, this is to give you clear ideas specific to what you do, on what you can achieve, how to approach it. Am I going to give you all the magic? No, but I'll give you some clear guidance and tips specific to yourself and to your industry that will help you. Now, the reason I want to do that is I've charged sort of £149. I don't know what that is in dollars, probably about 170 for this normally. But I'm a big believer now that there is such a wide range of opportunities out there and options for different types of coaches and other areas that you can go with. So I'm a big believer in having a conversation. If you're a serious person, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a business owner, and you could be doing better, you've got 2 choices. You can carry on doing what you're doing now and getting no different results, which is literally the definition of madness, or take an hour out of your life, book a free call, contact Derek, jump on the call, get a few tips. If you don't buy into what I'm talking about, do you know what? You can tick it off that list. But one thing I do know, I haven't had a single person, literally at all, that hasn't at least come off a call and thought, do you know what? I'm either a little bit more confident in what I'm doing, I'm doing the right thing, I've just got to carry on, or I've come out with some bloody good value and now I've got a coach that can help me. Either way, it's a win-win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the whole idea, to win-win, to really help other connect with people, right? Yeah.
My big thing is that the more people I can help, my goal is to help 1,000 people sell more effectively in the next year. So I want to get that target hit by January. So the more people, if this is a good way to help people do that, then great.
Right. That's awesome. I mean, that is definitely good value, you know, coming from a sales coach, because a lot of people who are offering sales experience, they're like either marketers or just hype, as you mentioned, right?
Yeah,
But a free strategy calls, guys, you know, with David himself, and you know, a lot of other programs, they kind of outsource it, but you can talk to
you're not going to get I don't palm people off. I outsource a lot of things in what I do, but the main reason I like to do is I genuinely enjoy taking people. You can look on my instas and stuff like that of the testimonials. Like there's people on there like, this works. Like this makes a difference. Taking people that are struggling with sales to making $1,000 a day. One of the guys in the States I talked to earlier in the week. People were absolutely thriving now from a small tweak. So I want to do the calls with you because it will give you the ability, and I get the goodness from it as well. So yeah, get in touch.
So yeah, if you're interested, please comment below. Hashtag David. I'll reach out to you. We're gonna connect, and I'll connect you with David personally.
Sounds great.
All right. Thank you so much for your time. All right, guys, I'm gonna turn this off. David will stick around for a bit.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, and
cheers,
catch the replay.
Speak to you soon.
Take care. Bye.